All right, by now you have probably received your welcome email from whatever host provider you signed up with. If it was InMotion Hosting, you probably also talked to someone to verify your account information and to verify your financial information, to just kind of one of those security protocols that InMotion goes through to make sure that you're legit. And if you've had that phone call, you've probably also received your welcome email from InMotion Hosting. Now, as I review this welcome email from InMotion, it's a little bit different than your typical welcome email that you might get from other host providers. For example, I found an old welcome email from Pacific Host from several years ago when I signed up with them. And you'll see that in this welcome email, you have all of the information that you need to get started right in the welcome email itself. How to sign in to your control panel, how to transfer files to your account on the server using FTP software. There's also some information here about how to point your name servers, just a lot of information that's right within the welcome email itself. Whereas the InMotion Hosting welcome email is basically just a way to connect with your client control software that is used at InMotion Hosting. They call it the AMP, your Account Management Panel. Now, this should not be confused with your cPanel software that we will learn more about in a future tutorial. This is just basically your profile at InMotion Hosting, a way to control all of the interactions that you will have in the future with InMotion Hosting. And here in the welcome email, you are invited to connect with this client software by setting your password. You'll see that your login ID currently will be set according to the email address that you provided when you signed up, and now you can set a password. And confirm it. And submit. And once you arrive at this screen, you can log in with the password you've just created. Type in your login information, which is at this point still your email address. I'm sure you can change that in your account settings once you get going. So here we are at our account management panel, and once again we need to point out that this should not be in any way confused with our control panel for our website. That is something that you would link into either through the little button down here, cPanel, or log on directly using a URL, and we'll talk more about that in a later tutorial. This is only a place where you can set up your account with InMotion Hosting and deal with such things as adding new domain names, transferring domains, purchasing or additional hosting, or changing your hosting plan. That type of thing is handled here at your account management panel. Maybe just point out a few things in this lesson. Here under Account Technical Details is where you will find most of the information that you would normally find in a welcome email. This just has it nicely listed here. Now, if you wanted to, you could send yourself an email that has all of this information that would indeed look more like the normal welcome email that you might get from some other host providers. And so if you prefer to work with an email, you could just hit that button and you'll get one of those. I believe the reason why InMotion Hosting has set it up this way is that this is probably considered to be a lot more secure. When you have all of this information in an email, if your email account gets hacked, then somebody has access to all of this information. Whereas here, doing it this way, it is stored on a secure server, and the only way that you can access, or anybody could access this information, is to have your login information for the account management panel. But here's where you have all of the information and details about your account, how you can link to your account temporarily, until you are able to connect your domain name to your host provider. It has information of how you can link to your control panel once that has happened. And it has the name server information that you would use, and we'll talk more about that in our next tutorial. A lot of good information that you will probably refer back to many times. Okay, let's go back. Notice a couple of other things about your control panel. You can link directly to your cPanel from here if you wanted to, your control panel. Now, the first time you click on this, you'll be presented with a cPanel login information. You'll probably recognize, when you look at the username, you'll probably recognize that it's kind of based on part of your domain name. And at first glance, you may feel that the username is a little bit short, but for reasons that will become clear in the future, it's probably best to leave it a short username. And what I usually do is just accept the username that the host provider gives you. Now, the password that comes by default is actually the same as the password for your AMP account, and it's a good idea to have a different password here. And so let's reset this password. Go down and click on Reset Password, and let's give ourselves a new one here. Submit, and we get the confirmation that it has been reset. And now, when we click on cPanel link again, in theory, this should have our new password. We can just hit the submit button, and that should log us in. All right, we have successfully logged into our cPanel. And InMotion will ask you to set a few preferences. I like English. And here it looks like it has a number of good text tutorials to help you become familiar with the cPanel. And we're also going to have a lesson on the cPanel itself. And so you can study up here or take a look at our video on cPanels itself. But for now, I believe that gives you a fairly good orientation to your AMP account or the client software at the host provider that you signed up for. It will probably be different if you signed up somewhere else, but the idea is the same. It's a place where you can have some back-end control of the account that you have established with your host provider. And for now, I believe that does it for setting up your account at your host provider.